It is no secret that the Trump administration is desperately trying to erase all forms of Obama in their new cabinet. And in their most recent attacks, this has been on the forefront of healthcare. With Obamacare being implemented in 2008, the Republican Party is trying to repeal this and replace it with new bills that they are presenting. And although these bills have been repeatedly shot down, they continue to push and push to get rid of all forms of Obama. Now, with these new bills being pushed to be implemented, thousands and thousands are going to lose their lives and hundreds of thousands are going to lose their ability to pay for healthcare. And with all of these lives at stake, it is very crucial to ask today's question. What is the future of healthcare in America? To which the answer is, instead of repealing, we must reform. By first, giving more freedom to the states in order to adjust their budgets. Secondly, we must continue to expand the boundaries already set on pre-existing conditions. And lastly, if we implement these two policies, it will make the United States look better, becoming a role model, having other states do the exact same. First, taking a look into expanding states' rights for healthcare. The new Graham-Cassidy bill that was presented, that was recently shot down, threatened to take away millions of dollars from each state. This is furthered by the LA Times on September 22nd that says that California alone has a rainy day fund of $8.5 million. Their healthcare rates are at such an all-time high that they have the ability to have an abundance of money left over to be able to be spent on whenever needed. But if the Graham-Cassidy bill was to be pushed forward, they would have a budget cut of over $16 million. Almost double of what they have in the rainy day fund, which is a non-renewable source, which is only spent for 1 year. This is furthered by the New York Post on September 22nd that says 31 states across the U.S. will lose lots of money, with New York being the highest populated state, losing 49% of their budget. Coming almost to half, the amount of money that the New York alone would lose would plummet their ability to adjust their rates given to the people for their health care. If they were to lose all of this money, they would not be able to adjust the budget based on singular people's needs, but instead be stuck at an all-time high premium, giving these people less of an opportunity to live or a chance to survive. And finally, NBC on September 21st writes that the states alone will lose $23 billion by 2026, and only 10 short years later, we will have lost a total of $4.1 trillion. With the amount lost almost tripled within 10 years, it is sad to see that what will happen if we keep trying to repeal healthcare is that these states will lose the ability to adjust their rates, giving the people higher premiums and less of a chance at life. Secondly, we must continue to expand the boundaries already set. Obamacare was revolutionary in the fact that it gave people with pre-existing conditions the ability to afford healthcare that they couldn't before. NBC on September 22nd writes that 21 million people since Obamacare was implemented can now afford the coverage that they so desperately need. But this is furthered by the Washington Post on September 21st that says those millions, along with millions of others, would lose the ability that they had just gained because of the repeal of Obamacare, increasing the mortality rate for adults and infants. Nobody wants to see people die. And finally, The Hill on September 25th reports that over 77% of adults under 60, or 27% of adults under the age of 65 already have pre-existing conditions that are not covered by healthcare. And if we repeal it, that percentage will only go up and up and up, causing more mortality, more death, and ultimately a worse United States. Lastly, if we implement these two policies, we will see a change in other countries, since the United States is already seen as the land of dreams or a role model for many other countries. The New York Times on September 28th writes that the United States has one of the most open approaches for healthcare options around the world. We have the private sector, we have the state sector, we have everything possible that you could want. And although you may not be able to afford every option, there are those options for you. This is furthered by The Independent on October 1st that writes that the U.S. is not even in the top 16 states for healthcare, or countries for healthcare. We are not seen as a country that helps their people with their health care or their health whatsoever. Their medical bills are going unpaid. The mortality rate is getting higher and higher. And with the United States being seen as a role model, the fact that we are not even in the top 16 speaks volumes of what we as a country are doing. And if we were able to get into this top 16, then we would be able to be a better role model, forcing other countries to pay better premiums for their healthcare, help their people even more. The fact that the United States is looked at as one of the wealthiest countries in the world, although we have a $27 trillion of debt, we are seen as a role model, and yet our healthcare pales in comparison to those of Canada, New Zealand, anything that helps their people survive. Here we are. What kind of role model are we leading? So today, when presented with the question, what is the future of healthcare in America? The answer is to reform, not repeal. Instead of trying to get rid of Obamacare in its entirety, we must instead reform it by first giving more freedom to the states to adjust their budgets, allowing their funding to be adjusted for individual needs of the people. Secondly, we must continue to expand the boundaries on pre-existing conditions that we already have. Although Obamacare implemented hundreds of thousands of people and gave them the ability to have health care, we must continue to expand upon these, giving more options to the people. And lastly, if we implement these two policies, we will make the United States look good, giving us a better image to the world and having other people that look at us as a role model to help their people and improve their health care. So today, although I am not a politician and although I do not know everything about healthcare, what I do know is that everybody deserves the right to life. And if we repeal Obamacare, the mortality rates will increase, more children will die, there will be less overall Americans, which nobody wants.